at the start of our show, a girl named Jill is running away from some guards. The guards demand that she give up as they close in on her, but she refuses and charges them even though she is tired. Even if I die today, I must kill her, she says. If that man keeps making fun of me, I'll never be able to calm down. And a boy named Gerald shows up and tells her she is going to die. She should have been put to death tomorrow, but because of what she did, she will be put to death now. Jill thinks to herself, I still remember the night we met and the time he asked me to marry him. Gerald told her, as soon as I saw you, I knew I loved you. She thinks back to that time. She thought he was very cute at first, but then she saw how he really was. Gerald says in the present, I can't believe the woman who was going to be my wife doesn't want to admit her crimes and runs away. What crimes are you talking about? Jill asks. They are all lies that are being said, she says. The last conflict affected Ferris's heart, and seeing her in pain has caused me much distress. Jill answers, as usual, your little sister is the only one, but Gerald stops her and says, nothing in the world is better than my sister. After that, he asks the guards how she got out of the cell. Jill tells him that she hit the guard so hard that he fell down. That's what happens to people who depend too much on their muscles, she says. Gerald grabs her by the hair and tells her, you could have lived a long life if you had trusted me. I would have given you the honor of raising my kids if you had made the smarter choice. It might be best, though, because I could never let my kids turn out like you. Gerald tells the guards to bring her back inside, but Jill gets away and strikes Gerald with a sword, trying to kill him. She fails, so she runs away again and climbs to the top of a tower to hide. Don't get it wrong, Your Highness. She yells at Gerald. No, it wasn't you who turned me down, it was me after that. She jumps off the tower. Gerald tells his men to shoot at her with arrows and then throws a spear at her. Jill tries to stop the spear, but she can't. It's like the spear has its own will. She thinks about the past and says, if only he weren't my fiancé, and if I had made a different choice back then, everything would have been different. She doesn't want to lose this way. In the present, the spear goes through Jill's body and she dies as midnight hits. Then something strange takes place. Time goes backwards as the clock starts to tick. When Jill wakes up, her parents are in bed with her. They've been dead for a while, so she's shocked. They ask her if she's okay and say she looks a little nervous because this is her first time in the royal city and the party sounds fun. Prince Gerald's 15th birthday party is going on now. Jill is shocked because she thinks Prince Gerald is 21 years old, not 15. After this, Jill, her father Lord Savelle, and her mother walk into the banquet hall. Everyone meets them warmly. Jill adds, I remember all of this, the party, the people. After that, His Highness Prince Gerald shows up. When Jill sees him, she gets scared and runs to her parents, telling them that the crowd is making her feel dizzy and she needs to get some fresh air. Jill goes outside to look at the castle and says, the palace design hasn't changed at all. Then she sees Princess Ferris's bedroom and tells him his engagement to me was just a front for his love for his sister, which he couldn't have. When I found out what they had done wrong, I broke off the engagement. The next day, I was jailed on false charges. The next day, I was tried right away, and it was decided that I would be put to death the next day. The crime was a failed attempt to poison the princess. This was a quick and easy way to keep me quiet and protect the prince and his sister's honor after I found them doing something wrong. They were cheating on their spouse, which is a crime. After that, Savelle goes outside to the balcony to cool down. Is this a dream or real life, she asks? Or was everything that happened before just a dream? They should be dead, but my parents are still living. I feel like a little girl again. This can't happen, and it doesn't make sense at all. What took place? We'll say I went back to the past. He asked her to marry him the last time, and they looked at each other. This time she came to this balcony. So things were different from what she remembered. Does that mean I have now fixed things? The prince walks in at that very moment, and Jill is shocked. She's very nervous and doesn't want to go back to that terrible past, so she sweats a lot. He starts to talk to her and says he needs to share some important news. He starts to tell her that he really admires her. She stays away from him, though, and quickly leaves to go see her parents. She's not sure what to do. Should she tell him she's seeing someone else just to stay away from him and escape going back to that painful past? He goes after her and yells at her for running away. Jill starts to think quickly, and then she does something. She tells him that she fell in love with the man behind her right away and will do everything she can to make him happy for the rest of her life. The man, who Jill hadn't seen yet, then speaks up. Because she has heard that sound before, she gets very scared. But he tells her he is happy and will marry her. Afterward, he introduces himself and asks her name. He learns that she is the daughter of Margrave Savelle and has a lot of magical power. When Jill thinks to herself, she realizes that this guy could be a prince, but she made the wrong choice. That's because 6 years from now, this man would use his huge strength and crazy behavior to flood the kingdom with fire. He is one of their worst enemies. The cursed ruler of the nearby lands hates them very much. The cursed person then says his name is Hades and that he agrees to marry her. It looks like Jill is on fire inside because her face shows how shocked she is. The scene then changes to Jill waking up and asking, "Where am I? What is this room? Is that the royal palace?" Hades comes up behind her to see how she's doing as she stands up and looks out the window. He gets down on one knee and tells her he wants to propose again because he still can't believe it. He's not sure if this is real or not. In her mind, Jill says, "This is a very different impression of him from what I thought of him 6 years ago." At that point, she remembers what happened in the future. He told his men to kill everyone there, leaving no child, woman, or old man alive. He would also tell them, don't let them die quickly because he was so mean. First, cut out their eyes in front of their moms, and then cut off their fingers. Then make siblings kill each other. Don't leave anything behind. Not their love, hopes, dreams, or ties. Break everything. Jill told him that they were going to accept defeat no matter what, so they should drop their weapons and pull back right away. Ravi then used his power to hit Jill because she was in charge of telling his army what to do. Jill told him that she should be punished if anyone had to be. Ravi made fun of what she said and told her she would regret it because she would look bad and ask herself, why me, as time went on. Jill responded that she would never change her mind, which made her angry. At this point, Ravi lost interest and told everyone to leave. Then we go back to Jill's younger years. Ravi asked Jill about her health and what she thought about getting married, but she didn't answer. She shouldn't push herself too hard, Ravi told her. If she wanted to lie down, she should. If she stayed awake, she should put on her shoes so she wouldn't get cold feet. After that, he put the shoes on her himself, which made Jill feel very bad because he was treating her like a lady, and she didn't know how to fight in this state. Right then, Gerald walked in, mad as hell, and told Jill to explain what she was thinking. When he tried to talk to her, she ran away. Ravi told Gerald that what he was doing was wrong and that he shouldn't put that much pressure on a young girl. Gerald didn't pay attention to him and asked Ravi what he was doing. Ravi said it was normal for him to worry about his fiancée when she passed out. Gerald got mad and told her that she was never his fiancée because his parents didn't agree with the relationship. Also, Gerald would be the one to ask her to marry him. This was agreed among themselves. Gerald then told Ravi that he would ask neighboring lands not to get involved in the business of their kingdom. As a result, Gerald didn't want Ravi to get involved in their internal issues either. Ravi made fun of him and suggested that he was acting badly because he had been turned down. He then turned to Jill and suggested that they talk in a different place. Gerald said they weren't going to leave, but Ravi didn't listen. It was clear that he was more powerful than Gerald, so he told Gerald not to try to fight him because they were on different levels. Gerald was scared and didn't do anything, so Ravi and Jill left the room. As they walked around the house, Ravi told Jill he was sorry for scaring her and promised no one would hurt her. He told her that he was sure this wouldn't make Prince Gerald give up because love and war were like two sides of the same coin. He then told her that her magic was still not stable, so they would be taking a ship to get where they were going. They could get to Ravi's kingdom in hours if he used his magic. Ravi gave Jill new clothes to wear on the ship. She was glad she was able to get away from Gerald, but she knew things wouldn't stop there. Ravi then made a big cake appear out of thin air and sat down with her for tea. Jill was so happy that she ate it right away and thought it tasted great. Then, because they were such a big age gap, she asked Ravi how serious he was about this engagement. In response, Ravi said it was great because she was the woman he had been looking for and a lot of magical energy, and he couldn't believe she was the one who asked him to marry her. Ravi then told her that something small would not change his plans to have a beautiful, happy family. When Jill found out that he had taken a child's joke so seriously that he took her hostage, she got mad. When she said it was a joke, Ravi got mad. Ravi asked, "So you're telling me that the marriage proposal was a lie? It's not possible for that to happen. I'll make sure you mean what you say. Would you like to marry me? Tell me the truth." Jill said she was sorry and said there was a situation and the marriage proposal was a lie. The small dinosaur then showed up and laughed at Ravi. I told you she's young and she offered to marry me after our first meeting, it said. She did have to deal with something, of course. You hopeless romantic are the only one who would get so excited and believe it so quickly. Ravi replied, for dinner tonight we're having dragon on a spit. Jill started to talk and said, in the myths, Kratos was the god of love and the earth, and the dragons were the gods of reason and the sky. Because of these myths, governments were made, and people have been at war for 1,000 years. Most people in the country of Kratos are born with the power to use magic, making it a very powerful country. In Ravi's kingdom, though, it's not common to find people with a lot of magical power. Back to Ravi now. He is mad at the little dragon and wants to kill it. I never thought stories were just fairy tales, Jill thought to herself. You can see and talk to me because you've met all the requirements, the dragon told Jill. It's normal for people your age and Ravi's to be different. Ravi said, yes, my mom married my dad when she was 16 and he was 40, but I don't think this is the right time to talk about it. It's better to do things the right way. The books say that we should take some time to get to know each other first. Jill said, reading books alone can throw you off, please forgive me. But your personality doesn't fit how you look. She said she was sorry, and that she hadn't thought he would really consider marrying her. Ravi replied, it doesn't make sense that a young girl with a lot of magical power would all of a sudden fall in love with a man like me. Things like this did not just happen. I'll pay this back one day. I'll always remember your name. I'll take you back to Kratos. For the first time, someone has told me they want to spend their whole life making me happy. Thank you. It felt like a dream that didn't last long. Jill told herself, I forgot because of how crazy things turned out, but when I go back there, all I'll see is that crazy obsessed man with his sister and my end. I chose to be responsible before I made my offer, which was meant to take advantage of him. It didn't seem like a bad person at the time, but now that I don't need it, it does. She then told Ravi, I'm sorry for everything I said, please let me marry you. I mean it this time and I'll move on. It's all my fault for what I said. I am not going to give up, and I will keep my promise to you. I will do everything I can to make you happy. Now that the anime episode for today is over, don't forget to join and click the bell icon to get all the newest movies and shows. At the start of our show, Jill and Miss Saphir are in a prison cell with some strange people who are talking to themselves. They should be quiet, Jill says, because Miss Saphir is scared. Then Jill uses her power to free her hands from their chains and frees everyone else in the prison who is chained as well. Everyone is shocked and wants to know who she is and how she did it. Now Jill tells them they need to stop fighting and think about what to do next. After getting all the information they needed, one of the prisoners says that these wild men posed as northern troops, broke down the gate that separated the town from the port, took the Marquis Belle's daughter hostage, and took control of the port. Her friend asks her what she wants to do. Why would they dress up as soldiers from the north who are meant to protect the port? She tells him she knew the Marquis didn't like them, but she didn't think it would get this bad. Miss Saphir tells them that the trouble starts with the girl the Emperor brought with him, Jill. So the picture is starting to come together, says the girl who is in jail with them. The Marquis Belle will send his own forces to stop the fighting. But what happens when those forces beat those wild people? He'll figure out that the Northerners aren't helping him, so he'll tell them to leave Belburg. If the girl the Emperor brought is really the one who started all of this trouble, then both that and the Northern forces will look bad on the Emperor. The Marquis will be able to do whatever he wants if this bad day comes true and Miss Saphir dies. She then asks them if they didn't feel something odd, since the girl who was said to have started it all wasn't in the room where they were being held. The guard tells them that he was watching over the girl's room when those wild animals came in and kept asking about the girl. They don't understand why the wild people are looking for the girl who tells them what to do. They decide that if the troops of the Marquis Belle show up, they will sneak in through the chaos and leave the Empire without telling His Majesty anything. She tells him that she will let him know and that they all need to run away and hide. Because she is close to the Emperor, it will be hard for the wild people to kill her, so she will stay here. They will have to use her as an offering if they can't find the spy, and she will find a way to tell the Emperor he won't ignore such a matter. When Jill looks at her, she thinks to herself, I'm not sure why Camila and Zik are coming to Kratos. I'm not sure of the details. They are told that if they get involved in this event and Miss Saphir lets them escape, she will stay alone in the back while Camila and Zik get away. She will then die while her father is ashamed. Finally, here is the whole story of the murder and death in Belberg. Then Jill takes off her hat and tells everyone, "My name is Jill Savelle, and I'm the girl you're talking about as a spy who started this whole thing. I am standing here with you, and I fell into this trap with you. The enemy still doesn't know where I am, which gives us a chance to win. We can save the northern troops that are in jail, keep Miss Savelle safe, and take back the port from the traitors." Camilla replies that she knows this is the best way for the northern forces to clear their name. It will also be clear who made people think you were a spy, right? It won't be easy for the Marquise to shut down the matter, Zick says. If we are successful, they are with her and behind her. After that, Jill asks Miss Savelle what she thinks because they will lose if she dies. She tells Miss Savelle to publicly accuse her father and promises to defend her. If she can't do that, she will be thrown away in the end. "Why are you trying to save me?" Jill asks Miss Savelle. It's me against you in love, while they are engaged and it looks like they will married. Jill tells her that she has no plans to fall in love with the Emperor. They are only engaged in name, and neither of them has feelings for the other. Then Miss Savelle tells her that she might try to betray him if it's just a name marriage. Jill tells her that she doesn't need to worry about the fact that they are only married in name, because they chose to be together for a reason. She also promised herself that she would make him happy. There is a change in scenes and Emperor Ravi is now talking to his dragon. He cares a lot about Jill's safety and wants to make sure she is safe. If something bad happens to her, he will move right away because the situation calls for it. In case he steps in at the wrong time, Marquise Bell wants this situation to get worse and will start killing people very violently. Furthermore, there is no more to talk about when it comes to him. You can get rid of Marquis Bell because he is just a tool. I wanted to give him enough time to figure out who did this, but the only good thing that can come from this is setting him an example. It is the best chance to get rid of things that are no longer needed. Last but not least, I will be in charge of Belberg. What about Miss Savelle? She may die of sadness after her father dies and the Bell family falls apart. The scene then changes to Jill, who tells Savelle that she is with the ruler too, just like you. Savelle is shocked and tells her that she believes her and will tell everyone about her father's crimes. Jill reassures her that she will protect her with all her strength and tells her how much she admires Safire's bravery and choice. Everybody is shocked by what Jill says and wonders if she is really a child because her mind works like a 20-year-old's. She tells them they need to move quickly because the Marquise is coming. A man asks her what the first step is to getting weapons, and she tells them that they are going to leave and free the northern troops who are being held captive. They will use them to make their group bigger because she thinks they are in jail or hiding somewhere. This blonde soldier says he heard that they are locked up in the church and that many of them are hurt. Jill tells him that he will lead them there. It's also time for Zick and Camilla to check on Miss Savelle. They ask her how they can get out of this place. She tells them she's going to take down this wall. Everyone is shocked by what she says, and she does hit the wall with her naked hand, making it fall apart like a bomb. And then she quickly runs at the soldier, who was going to kill the hostages, and hits him in the head. She moves toward another fighter, blocks a bullet, and then hits him very hard. Her friends come up to her and say they're sorry for taking so long to get there. While she talks to the hurt, she introduces herself as Jill and says she came to save them all because the Emperor told her to. She says that Marquis Bell planned and carried out this attack, which is a trap meant to catch the northern troops and weaken the Emperor. People have also said that she is a spy. Miss Savelle should never be used as a disposable tool in this plan again. She tells everyone who can still move to make a wall, so that the enemy can't get through. For those who are hurt, she tells them that their wounds are honorable and that they should not feel bad about being great warriors during fight. People will die for you, even if you fail. Then the brave soldiers from the north hold their heads high. This is the moment everyone has been waiting for, our chance to take back our pride and free the port. It's so moving that her speech makes her sound like a leader, like she could be in charge of the army. People are so happy at what she says that they are cheering and singing her name. After that, the scene changes to Emperor Ravi cooking. Ravi went to Hades and told him that his bride was truly amazing and impressive because she had used her powers to get away and was now facing the enemy. When Hades heard this, he was shocked and asked what was going on. Ravi answered that they were guarding Miss Savelle in the church, and this was what his bride had told the northern forces to do to push back the enemy so they could take back the port. People in the north thought the Emperor had sent the girl to save them after she spoke about fighting under his banner. Ravi then told him what she had done in the fight. Hades asked him about the damage in the town. Ravi said that there was no damage in the town because the fighting was only going on at the port. Even though Hades kept thinking about what he had lost, he chose to take the money from Marquise Bell to rebuild instead of killing his royal family. Right then, 2 guards showed up because Marquise Bell told them to protect Hades, because rebels were on their way to the palace. They told him to clear the area and go somewhere safe, but Hades refused because he knew they were trying to get in his way. He told them that the northern troops were about to take back the port without warning. After that, we go back to Jill and the northern troops who were done fighting. Jill tells them to go back to the church, which they do, protecting the place and making the windows and doors stronger, as she said. That's when Hugo, the enemy commander, came up to them and asked the northern troops to make a deal. They would capture the spy and bring her to him. He would leave the port if they brought her to him quietly, but he would burn down the church if they didn't. They were all about to die, and no one knew what to do. Because they couldn't take back the port, they asked Jill what they should do. Everyone with Jill didn't want her to talk to the enemy leader because she was still a child. Even though they were upset, Jill told Camilla to get a rope and told the troops to take care of Saphir instead of her. After that, Jill came up with a plan, and we see her roped up. She asks the guard to give her to them, and the guard does. He walks out with Jill and tells the enemy that they will send the spy as agreed. After that, Hugo tells them to make her walk slowly toward him. Hugo tells Jill that she's just a little girl and that they won't attack her because they need to get ready to leave and don't have time to kill all of them. At that very moment, Jill strikes Hugo with her magic, which is very strong. He is caught, and she tells his troops that they should give up if they value their leader's life. Hugo tells them not to believe her and explains that she is only lying to them. He then makes fun of her for being a child. He falls to the ground after Jill hits him. She tells them to give up right now. After some time, a soldier walks in and says that he has gotten a message from a messenger that says, "We have destroyed all our ships." Hugo gets mad, and Jill tells him, "If you want to get ready to escape, you can't because I sank all your ships." He says that even though she sank all of their ships, he still has someone who will kill the princess. An old man tries to kill the princess, but Camilla stops him by telling them that a monk is hitting people with a knife because he thinks the end of the world is coming. They catch him and bring him outside. Zik says, "My condolences to you if you are thinking of killing the princess. She is safe and sound." Hugo replies, "I will be enough to settle this. Let my men leave now." When Jill asks him what company he works for, he says, "For Marquise Bell." But after that, Marquis Bell shows up and kills most of the warriors and troops. "You are the girl who lied to the emperor," he says. "Even though you're young, it's clear that you are a witch from Kleitos." Jill greets him and tells him that the northern troops beat the wild people who took over the port, so it looks like he is a step behind schedule. He tells them that he has already arrived and that all they need to do is be killed. And then a huge monster shows up, and Jill tells everyone to go to the church. It tries to hurt her, but she tells it that she will burn the church down if it does. The monster suddenly falls to the ground in front of Jill. Belle is shocked and asks, "What are you doing?" "Come at me, monster." The answer comes from Hades, who is on top of a building and says that it can't do anything because the dragon emperor controls it. The scene then changes to Hades and Ravi. Ravi asks him what he's doing, and Hades tells him that a husband should trust his wife and wait. It breaks his heart to be close to her. He can't take her off his thoughts. Thoughts of being with her make him want to be with her no matter what he does. Then Hades sees the dragon through the window and tells Ravi, "Let's go see her. I'll protect her from this animal." This anime show for today is now over. Keep an eye out for new shows. Please subscribe and turn on the bell to get all the latest videos if you like the one you watched. Our episode begins with Emperor Hades announcing to everyone that he can't leave his wife outside and take shelter in a safe place. Then he picks up Jill and asks how she is. She tells him she's fine and very happy that he is worried about her. And he then asks her about the events at the harbor. Jill explains that news of the harbor's occupation was a trick to distract them by the enemy, and that she and Miss Saphir saved the northern forces from the enemy, defending the harbor to the end. Bill interrupts angrily, saying, "Don't you realize, Your Majesty, that girl is a spy? The enemy is still in the harbor. Trust me, Your Majesty, don't leave the palace. And if you say the girl deserves pity because she was used by those savages, then I'm more than willing to present that explanation to everyone." Jill snaps back, "You filthy coward! How dare you suggest such a thing?" Suddenly, Emperor Hades approaches one of the soldiers, grabs him by the neck, and says, "Hello, the Northern Forces uniform suits you well. Moving here so suddenly must have been hard. It's nice to meet you. I am your emperor. Well done, Zeke, Camilla, and guard. The soldiers are shocked that the emperor knows their names, but Hades adds, it doesn't seem right for the emperor not to know the names and faces of his soldiers. As a member of the Northern Forces, you know your duty is to report any information on the commander behind all this. It appears my wife wishes to save everyone, including the pawns that can be discarded, but my mood changes quickly, so you'd better make up your mind. And the soldiers then kneel before His Majesty. Soldier Hugo tells him he has information that the mastermind behind this incident is Marquise Bill. Emperor Hades then approaches Bill, strikes him, and places his head under his foot, saying, "You're as good as dead, and the dead don't talk. I warned you before that if my wife is innocent, you will atone accordingly." Hades then ponders the method of execution he'll impose, contemplating whether it should be burning, torture, or handing him over to Bilberg. Meanwhile, Miss Saphir, worried about her father, is reassured by Jill that the Emperor won't kill him. Instead, he will spare her father's life when Bill confesses his crimes in Bilberg. Bill laughs and says, "Do you really think this is an act of mercy? Of course, an emperor who led his own mother to suicide would be that kind. How many people died for you to become emperor? How many have you killed? I was merely trying to protect my lands from a cursed emperor. And there isn't a single person in this empire who wants you to rule. No one even wants you alive." Emperor Hades responds, "You may be right, but I remain the emperor, and that truth stands whether loved or hated." Then, he orders the soldiers to take Bill and gather as much of the story as possible from the criminal's child. Later that night, we see Jill standing in the palace corridor, wondering where to go. The dragon, Ravi, appears and asks her if she's lost, guiding her to her room. Jill then asks if there are any servants here. Ravi explains that this was Marquis Bill's palace until a few hours ago, and his servants are now too frightened to be of any use. Jill then inquires about the Emperor, and Ravi tells her that although the Emperor may seem foolish, he's aware that he can't allow others to see him as weak or naive. He's always had the potential and talent to become Emperor, but the way he usually acts makes that hard to believe. He's trying to adjust things so he doesn't have to rule by fear. Jill replies if that becomes his normal, he won't be able to feel anything anymore, and eventually, he'll become numb to his own and others' feelings. Ravi agrees, adding that Hades has trouble connecting with people and that his sense of closeness is a bit off. He also notes that Hades is an extremist who believes that if he can do anything about the curse, everyone will love him. Jill then says they should use this opportunity to help the Emperor get used to people, suggesting he tries to become a charming ruler. Ravi asks if she actually loves the Emperor, but Jill replies that a romantic relationship with him is impossible at this time. Their bond is merely one of mutual benefit. Finally, they arrive at her room, and Ravi tells her that this is her shared bedroom with the Emperor. Jill reacts and exclaims, "You don't mean His Majesty is inside, do you?" Ravi opens the door and says, "You are married, so of course you have a room together." Ravi tells her that of course they have a shared room, it's also a matter of security. Jill enters to find Hades asleep on the bed, completely unaware due to drinking far too much intoxicating alcohol. She splashes some water on him to wake him, noticing his temperature had reached 40 deg C, but thankfully he's now feeling much better. As he slowly regains consciousness, Jill checks on him, bringing him some fruit. Surprised, he asks, "Are you taking care of me?" She replies, "My dear, how could I not? You're my husband." He thanks her, telling her that just having her by his side is a comfort in itself. He asks for some apple, so she takes a knife and cuts it, though in a rather awkward way. He chuckles and comments, "You're clumsier than I expected with this." Then he lifts her onto his lap, and her face turns as red as the apple in her hand. He expertly shows her how to peel the apple, handling it like a machine. Jill, amused, requests him to cut it into rabbit shapes. Hades does so with ease, and she's amazed, exclaiming, "You're really a genius, Your Majesty." He responds that it's not hard, just takes practice. She goes to eat the apple herself, smiling as his lightheartedness reminds her of her younger brother, given her large family. However, Hades is a bit annoyed and says, "How can you compare me to a little brother? I'm your husband, which means I'm your lover and friend." Jill then calls her that she hasn't told her parents about their marriage yet. She thanks him for saving her from the brutes and the Marquis. He could have punished them as the Emperor, but he didn't. Hades explains, "I didn't because I know you hate things like executions or killing, and it's only natural to protect my wife and beloved." Jill holds his hand and tells him she overheard Marquis Bill saying terrible things, disrespecting him, She tells Hades, "Next time, if anyone belittles you or speaks poorly of you, I want you to stand up for yourself immediately so that no one will dare undermine you." Surprised by the love in her gaze and the warmth of her hand, Hades blushes deeply, like the apple. He remarks, "It seems you've fallen for me," but before he can finish, she interrupts, laughing, "That's only natural, considering you're still a child. I treat you like my younger brother." Hades, visibly flustered, lets go of her hand and pretends to shiver, jokingly telling her he's cold, but then he surprises her by holding her tightly. "Love between spouses is normal," he says, "and you shouldn't be shy about it. But if you haven't fallen in love with me yet, that only makes me want to discover everything about you." Hades keeps talking with Jill, though she eventually falls asleep. She is still a child, not yet 14, with strong magic that even allows her to see Ravi. Hades himself has never wanted anything more, yet he yearns to experience what it's like to love. The next day, Hades and Jill sit together, talking about the perfectly roasted duck prepared that day. He offers her a taste, and she's delighted by how delicious it is. They talk about their marriage. Hades says that if she agrees to it, Camilla and Zeke will be under her command. As however, she is hesitant, saying she'd feel lonely if they separated so soon. He asks if she'd like some snacks while she waits, as everyone at home will be waiting for her. Later, Hades gives his guard a plate filled with sweets to bring into the palace, but the guard refuses, wanting to stay with them and witness Jill's care for the Emperor. Her guards are always by her side, supporting her loyally. After this tea session, Elisa tells the guards that they should stop bothering her and the Emperor. One of the guards responds that the only support she has here is the Emperor's favor, and that he placed her under his full authority. She replies that there's nothing like that between her and the Emperor. Another guard suggests she avoid running to the Emperor so often for every tea gathering, warning that it might only raise his hopes. And the other guard reassures her, saying they'll always stand by her. Zeke chimes in, saying, "You can calmly ignore such childish flirting attempts." Jill responds, "This is the first time a man has tried to woo me, so I don't know how to handle it. I don't intend to bring love and romance into the relationship because if we become a couple, I won't be able to correct His Majesty when he makes a mistake." Zeke replies, "That's a harsh way to look at it." Camilla adds, "You're still a child." And in his own way, so is the Emperor. Jill replies, "But because of this, I've involved you both. I come from a different era, so I shouldn't make the same mistakes this time." Then Zeke asks her, "Is that the dragon's ring?" Jill replies, "Yes, but I can't take it off. If such a thing exists, perhaps the curse is real." Jill reflects on how the Emperor had said that the curse might be pacified if she stays close to him. Zeke wonders, "Do you think the curse will calm down? Or does the Emperor need to marry a dragon?" Camilla interjects, "If the myths are true, it must be a curse shocked." Jill shouts, and Zeke tries to calm her, asking, "Are the legends different in the kingdom of Kleitos?" Jill responds, "Long ago, the dragon's perspectives on dealing with humans diverged, leading to a conflict between loving protection and logical rule, eventually splitting the land into two nations. I heard that Kleitos and Zrafi were supposed to be united." Zeke says the land's blessing turned into a curse and a time came when no crops would grow. However, the Dragon Emperor found a bride with incredible magic and created a magical shield over Ryuutei, successfully protecting the land from the curse. It's said that this magical shield became our borders. Jill is amazed and says, "I can't believe that your myth exists beyond the borders. That's why it was said that the curse wouldn't activate if I'm here." At this moment, Princess Sapphire rushes over to Jill, bringing a message she knew had to be delivered immediately. Jill takes the letter, stunned by the handwriting, and everyone is curious about its contents. Suddenly, the letter flies away, only for Emperor Hades to catch it. "I didn't think he'd surrender so easily," he remarks. "But the dedication of a crown prince is something to admire." Jill asks him, "I'm not sure I understand." Hades explains they should be preparing for an enjoyable welcome party. "Now I'll come for your friends. I've accepted your challenge. Love is war." And so today's episode of this anime concludes. Stay tuned for future episodes. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon to receive the latest updates.